Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm going to awkwardly review a board game table. I say awkwardly only because of the price point of a board game table. This is not a $30 game. This is not a $200 game. This is not even a $500 all-in. This is a $3,500 table on the low end. With free shipping, by the way. Free shipping to the US, but on the low end. And the price can grow as you add this and that and features and extensions and toppers and mats and all these different things, and the price can grow. And that is the nature of what board game tables are, but it also makes them a little harder to review. What do I say? This is a good table. It does a good job. It holds things up, it puts the games where they're supposed to be, and it does all the things I expect a board game table to do. Mostly that. But let's talk about it, let's get into it. But understand, it is inherently hard to tell you how to spend $3,500 plus on something like this, which is very much a premium product that I've enjoyed and I've been using for a year plus before finally reviewing this one, and can tell you where it works for me, where it doesn't work for me, the things I would have loved to see done differently, and the general areas of comfort I have around this. I've used it for quite some time. I know how it compares to other game tables because I have another board game coffee table, another board game full-size dining table, so I have at least some comparative basis that I can give for this one, but I still can't tell you that it's worth $3,500 to you. Again, or more. If you add more stuff, it adds more. But let's get into it. Let's start with the baseline of a board game table, and this, for context, this is the I'm losing on the name. This is the Dresden from Bandpass Game Design, or Bandpass Design. The Dresden game table, and they sell some shelves as well. I haven't tried those, but this is the Dresden game table. This is their main offering. I'll link to it down below. In fact, it's been linked in my videos for a very long time now. I've had this table for a long time. I use it in a lot of videos. This is just me finally actually covering it and reviewing it. And to that end, as a starting basis, before we even get into the Dresden and what this one does or does differently or all of that, let's start by talking about what purposes a table serves. Why do you want a game table to begin with? What does it do for you, for your gaming space, for whatever degree of... Why should you want a game table? Not why should I want a game table. I have a different context. I need all the camera angles. I need the camera. See, I switched the camera angle there. I need the top-down shots, the areas over here. I need to be able to give what I need or get what I need out of it from a production standpoint. But I have different needs than you do. And my first game table that I ever got, which was not the Dresden, it was from a different company, from Geek Chic, Uniquely Geek. I don't know why I said Geek Chic. That wrong company, from Uniquely Geek. And I got a game table for a simple reason, that I spend enough money and time in this hobby that I thought at a certain point a game table was worth it. I thought the idea of being able to cover up a game that you're in the middle of, a game that you're in progress with, the idea of being able to have a dedicated surface and a coverable dedicated surface would make it so that I play games more often, or certain types of games more often. And it worked. It absolutely worked. A game table is one of the best things I've ever done for myself in this hobby. It is expensive. It will cost you money no matter where you get it. It will cost some degree of money, and there are different degrees of affordability. There are also budget gaming options out there. But the general idea of having a covered area where you can store your games added value to my life. If I'm buying that $200 Kickstarter, if I'm buying that $500 all-in, if I'm spending money on the hobby left, right, and center, maybe it'd be better if I played the games more. And so I got a game table. And it added a lot of value to my life. It made me play games that I wasn't. It gave me the freedom and flexibility to set up a 3-hour-long game, knowing that even if something happens, even if people drop by, even if the game takes longer than expected, whatever the circumstances or situation at play, I didn't have to mentally commit because I knew I could cover up the game and return to it later. As I have many times in the past, and as I will many times again. I think a game table is a worthwhile investment from that stance alone. That investment is further magnified upon if you're already looking to spend a chunk of money on a dining room table. If you're at a point or position in your life where you're about to invest in a dining room table, either a new one or redoing it, whatever the situation you have is, they can be expensive. A regular dining room table can cost thousands of dollars. One of the reasons a game table costs so much is the starting baseline of quality furniture is a lot of money. And if you're looking at spending $3,000 on a dining room table or $4,500 on a board game dining room table, maybe suddenly that gap is not quite as severe. Maybe suddenly it's a drop more compelling, and my first game table was very much a replacement for my dining room table. It was an upgrade and replacement for my dining room table, allowing me to give a little bit more freedom to and flexibility towards that expense as it became our main fixture in our main dining room, around the table, a covered area, and that's one of the things you might want to look for in a game table. That idea of having a covered surface. And the Dresden, for context, the Dresden does have a covered surface. It does have a full overlay you can put on top of it. It will add to the cost, and it's not something I can overly comment on because this particular table I don't use for food, except for the parts where I put drinks on the table, and people complain about the fact that there's drinks on the table. In the videos, that is, not in real life. I don't use this for a dining room, and so I can't comment on the dining room topper. I can't comment on the value it adds to this or not. I can say that it has that option if you're looking for it, and it'll give you those customizations. And I can tell you from my other dining room table that I definitely use it as a dining room table and as a game table, and I love the flexibility it gives. For me, the Dresden is more about being a game table. Yes, it's my filming table as well, but it's more about being a game table. It is a place where I have set up many a game under this surface over here. Under here, you can pick this up by the little straps over here. You can pick this up. Let's go ahead and just watch as this goes. This, I'm going to pull it out. This is now, we're going to get into one of the cons of the table right now, which is the fact that, especially sitting down, this is a table that is not really meant to be functioning as far as a one-person situation. Here we go. Here's our table situation, slowly being pulled up over here as we take this off from the area. Just putting it off to the side. And again, reminder, we now have a swinging dongle from the top here as I knocked this off my mic up here. But this over here is my double-sided, two-sided table over here, and a bunch of little hairs that I need to take out of here from this. But over here we have our our revealed play area. We now have a revealed play area where we have our other area. Again, you can see from the other angle over here, this pulls in. We have our topper behind me over here. This thingamajig that is meant to go back in here at some point. And this is the part where you do have to, ideally, I mean, you could do it as a single person, that's absolutely true, but you do have to, not have to. You could do this as a single person. It makes it easier if you have two. At some point in this video, I'll probably stand up and put it back. The audio's probably changed as it now has a new thing bouncing off in different ways. But this is, like I said already, this is the game table. This is one of the reasons, this surface area, this vault, is one of the reasons why you'll want a game table to begin with. The idea that you can put something in here, you can play a game, and then you can rest that table on these pegs as you go through it so that you have a covered area, and that vault depth is something you want to look into when buying any game table. In this case, the Dresden over here has a decent vault depth, and there might be options to customize it. I can't speak for the customizations. There are different options in sizing and flexibility and all that stuff you can get over here, but the vault depth is an important thing. You want to look at the miniatures you have in the games you more commonly play, and the more common miniature sizes, and check how much depth you need, because that ultimately determines that when you put this topper back on and there's a game in progress, are you crushing things or not? That's usually the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to crush your miniatures. Now in my case, I go with the standard miniature sizing. I don't worry about the exceptions. You can always lay down a miniature or even mark it and take it out. But the standard miniature sizing, you want to try to be mindful of the types of games you play and whether that vault depth will accommodate that or not. Now when it comes to the Dresden over here, there are also options. If we can pull this up from the side here, let's get this here. There are also options as far as the base will come with this table area over here. It's completely uncovered. You can gather mats that you can then put on top that will then rest in the area. You can use their mats. You can get a custom mat. You can get them cut to fit in whatever shape or form. But you're going to go ahead and have this vault where you can store games, play games, put things inside here. And again, like I said already, I use this extensively myself. I don't use it quite as much for filming, although I've debated it. If I dive more into campaign play and start filming more games and campaign play, the idea of having this area here where I can have a camera showing in and a camera angle present and giving me all the stuff, very possibly. From a top-down shot, it would look basically the same. From a front angle shot, it would be visible. From my front shot, I may have to be mindful of how the height works or doesn't work when you don't have the same level surface over here. But again, that's a kind of different problem as far as filming, not so much as far as the functionality of the table itself. That's one of the main things you're going to want. One of the main reasons to get a game table is the vault, whether you cover it or not. Some people just want this area, whether or not it's covered. Some people just want the general area and don't care past that. And so that's something you're ideally going to want. Other things that are very common in game tables in general are going to be some form of cup holders. Whether you have a cup holder that, well, fits in here and you can put whatever drinks you want, or alternatively, whether you have some sort of clip-on edge, and game tables will have this in different ways. In my case, I have a few different features over here. Let's go ahead and show you from the top. We have this little vault over here where we have all my dice stored over there, and there's a few options around the table. The players have a little component vault. We have our cup holders that go over here, and we have little divots that go over here where you can't really see these quite as nicely. If I grab some dice, maybe you'll go ahead and see some. If I toss some dice there, you can see these in the, just barely see these, maybe on a different camera angle. If I dump them over here, so you can see they're all kind of in this little divot over here. You'll have some of these on the table. Additionally, you'll also have these card rails where if I had some cards, I should grab some cards. I don't have any cards. I do have credit cards. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull out a credit card in such a way that I don't give you all the horrifying revealing information. Here we go. Let's go ahead and give you nothing over here. I'll give you the back of this card over here. The back of this card goes over there, It's not my actual credit card, it's a throwaway prepaid card, so worst case scenario, you took $75 from me if you also got the front shot at the same time. But we'll put this over here. You have your cars lined up in this row. Every player will have their own thing. You're going to have 6 of these rails around the table. Now this will vary depending on the table size you have, so you're going to have those extra functionalities built into the table. Effectively, you have a built-in card rail. You have component holders both on the top of the table as well as stored inside little boxes here, which my kids like playing with more so than I do. Then we have your cup holders, and then you have your general play area. This is where we start getting into how is the Dresden different than another table? What does this table do better or worse? Because so far, I'm just talking about a game table. There's no heavy degree of any features. What does the Dresden do? And so, to a few extents, the first and biggest thing I can say for the Dresden is that in regular day-to-day use, I have nothing to complain about. That's the biggest testament I can give it. There's nothing I really am concerned with. It does the job. It functions as a game table should. It gives me the functionalities and features that I want, and it looks nice while doing so. That's where we start getting into this weird, awkward part of what is this review? This is a table. It holds things. It looks nice. It has a vault, and it does the features I wanted it to do. That's it. I'm not blown away by how amazing the Dresden table is. It is very convenient and useful and does the job I sought out to do. I am blown away by the general functionality that a game table adds to my life. But the Dresden in particular does the job. It is a good game table. I have a few areas where I think it's better or worse than other game tables, but for the most part, it's a quality game table, it's a quality piece of furniture, it looks nice, and it does the job. That's the positive review you're getting here. As far as the areas where I can be more critical of and or find ways to talk nicely about it, the biggest thing that I'm not as much of a fan of, and this is an aspect that you don't see in many game tables, so it's not really a ding against the Dresden, it's just I would have loved to see something done differently, is the way this topper kind of rests on here. You see, you're going to have these angles over here, these little pieces of wood, which you could unscrew these. You could unscrew these, taking these off, and if you unscrew enough of them, not necessarily all of them, but most of them, then you can go ahead and put this surface, raising it and lowering it. You can have a table on this surface over here. You can have not a table, you can have a game resting on the surface, lowered into your game table, and then simply, when you need to, pull it up and then reattach the screws and put it down. Or the reverse, have it on top of the screws, unscrew the things, reach in, and slowly lower your table, slowly lower your game so it goes underneath. And if you have another one of these, which I do coincidentally, and by coincidentally I mean I planned around this, then you can now have the game set up on top, lowered down, and then put on top, and then put another top and put on top. It will lower your vault space because you'll have a half inch of this table in the way, but you have that flexibility and the customization. In practice, I never do that. In practice, the situations in which you can have 2 people holding the game in progress while somebody else unscrews these doesn't practically work. I would have loved to see a way to raise and lower the vault. Now, this is selfishly as a content creator because I use this for filming and that functionality would have been great. But even without that, it would be nice to be able to have that functionality and that possibility. And I don't know how you do it. Maybe there's a way to, like, have some sort of a magical hinge where you can kind of slide it down and pull it up in a way that actually worked. I don't really know. I'm not suggesting the exact answer. I'm just saying that I would have loved to be able to raise and lower the top in a way that is actually functional and not possible but not practical, if that makes sense. Again, not really a ding compared to other tables. My Uniquely Geek table upstairs doesn't do that either. This is more just the nature of me wanting more and just wishing that it did something that it doesn't. That's basically it. I think the only comparison there would be the Wormwood Crank, where you can raise and lower it, and I'm pretty sure that table is even more expensive, so not a complaint so much as a commentary. As far as an area that I do love about this table, an area that is very solid, is I have these types of surfaces on other tables, and this is the most premium and or firm, whatever word you want to call it over here. This is very solid. I don't worry about applying pressure on this. I don't worry about someone leaning over the table with the hand on the table, which happens. People are on the game, they're leaning over, they're invested in the game, and when I do this upstairs and I have that surface, I kind of have to tell people, hey, I know I have a covered area that goes on top that rests on the edges so you can have different options, but you can't apply weight to it. It's not meant to bear your weight. I don't know if this is meant to bear your weight, but it certainly feels like it can with no concern whatsoever. The downside of that is this is a 2-person job. Whereas upstairs, my Uniquely Geek, where I want to put a surface on this, it's very, very easy. It's a little bit smaller than this, but the lightweightness of it, the fact that it doesn't actually have that, well, weight-bearing aspect to it, means it's very light and very easy to put on. This is a job that I could do myself and frequently do myself, and I'll probably put it back on before this video is over just to show you how it works. At the end of the day, it is a little bit of a chore to do so. A chore that, again, in my case and not in your case, is made worse by the very nature of having like an up camera over here that's in the way, that's trying to block me. Even right now, you can kind of see peripherally maybe the mic over here. You can see the mic over here in the shot. I have things in the way that make it an extra degree of chore to pull this out. That's a me problem, not a you problem, but certainly it's bigger and heavier. It can be done by one person, but that's about it. Those are the biggest things I have as pros and cons outside the normal job. This game table looks nice, feels premium. All the divots, the component trays work great. I love the card rail. That'll give them major points for this. I love the built-in card rail. You might not, because the card rail is built in. Maybe you don't want that visible aspect of it. I don't know. Maybe you could request not to have it in case you don't like it. But I personally love the card rail. I like putting my cards here. It feels like it's just a built-in feature. The component trays work great. The built-in trays over here. Don't use these quite as often, honestly. I feel like I should, but I just don't really. Maybe if I wasn't filming, maybe if the standard for me was having these out, it would be different. But I don't have these open and ready for component usage. The theoretical functionality is certainly there. The practical relevance to my life, not as much. Cup holders are almost always great. You want to be mindful of the fact that depending on the type of cup holder you get in a table, like these built-in ones, they won't hold mugs. They'll hold many, many other drinks. Anything from wine glasses if they're not too wide, to glasses, to beers, to whatever you need. But they do the job as far as cup holders. There's only so much I can really say there. Past that, that's basically my review of the Dresden table. It's a good table. I like it. I'm happy I have it. It does all the things that I want a game table to do, and it feels right, and it looks good while doing so. And then from there, you can go ahead and try to figure out how to customize it. If you're interested in this, I'll throw a link down below. There's always a link down below, but this time it'll be higher up. Again, when I said awkwardly reviewing, I meant it, because effectively what I'm telling you is, hey, this is an expensive thing that does the job that it's set out to do. I've been using it for over a year, and I've had no real complaints about it. It has served my space well. It has served my needs well. It has done an excellent job, and if you're in the market for a game table, I absolutely recommend checking this one out. The thing you're going to want to be mindful of on your end is there are many options out there, many options with many different price points and costs, and the question is, can you find something that does the same job for less money? I don't really know. I don't have a good comparison because, for me, practically speaking, the two main game tables I own a coffee table as well, but they're both premium products with premium degrees, whatever. I've never sat down and tried one of the budget options, and I can't speak. I'm not saying don't get one, not in the slightest. If you think it works for you, and especially if you know someone who has one, by all means look into them. But I can't speak as well to the budget board game table options to see what you lose out on or not. Will they do the job? Very possibly. And if you're on a budget, definitely seek them out. Look into them. But if you're not on a budget, if you're looking for a premium game table, I absolutely recommend the Dresden game table by Bandpass Design. And that's my review over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and awkwardly stand up and try to put this in to give it a feel of just how hard it is or isn't. I may be off camera for some of this because I'm going to try to do it the way I normally would, and trying to do it while on camera would be a further degree of problem. As it is, I'm going to be trying to mind my third camera angle over here, my little buddy over here, trying to avoid him, who's usually not in the way, so it'll already be a harder chore, but let's go ahead and see what we can do. In fact, maybe I'll keep this angle on. This angle actually probably does work for it, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's put this table back on, see what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and grab this over here, and then, like so. And again, you can get a feel for how hard it is or isn't. Once we get this, this is what I usually do, by the way. I usually put it on like that, so you can kind of see right now from here. You can see it's kind of on the edges, not really in. The reason for that is, as a one-person job, if I just slide it in, then it might catch on the edges. So what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to slide it. Let's show you from the top. Slide it so it's like this, a little bit over. Then I come back to this side and grab it over here, which you'll see in a second. And then I just let it sit into place, which you'll go ahead and see now as I do this over here. As I grab this, as I rotate it around, angling it just so, and then pull it, and that over there is how I do it. And that is everything. That's the Bandpass game design, the Dresden table, and all that stuff. And in any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this semi-awkward table review. Again, it's just hard to tell someone, hey, this is a really expensive thing that does a good job at what it's supposed to do, but that is what it is. It's a good table that does a good job at what it's supposed to do. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.